Good morning and welcome to Conversations with Kat. I'm so excited to be doing this today. And actually, in a few minutes, we're going to be joined by a friend. But I just want to tell you what this is about. So many times people ask me, how do I live my life the way that I do? Why do I do the things that I do? And you don't get a chance to see the behind the scenes process, like the conversations that I have with different people, the thought processes that I go through in order to make decisions. And many people ask me to teach them how to do it. So I said, okay, this is what we'll do. And so recently I've been working with a coach. Hey, Coach Joey. And I've been working with Coach Joey Falcone. And as I was talking with him, he was like, you know what? He's like, Dr. Walls, you're really a transformation expert. And I was like, whoa, that's a big title. And what does that mean? And I need to sit with that for a while and see whether or not I really feel like I can wear that. Just like, wearing this cloak, can I wear that title? And does it really resonate with me? Is it my personal truth? And I think that's so important. Whenever people say things to you, give you a title, give you a name, you really need to sit and determine whether or not that's you or not, because people will project things onto you all the time. And it may not be your personal truth, it may be their misperception of who you are. And a lot of times when I give trainings, I talk about 3 P's. The first P being perception, the second being projection, and the third being perspective. And so, if we look at those 3 words, when we talk about a perception, we say that we perceive something that's really based on our senses. And that means that something's been activated. We see something, we hear something, we smell something, we taste something, we feel something, our senses. And then there's also, of course, the sixth sense, which really I feel as though is our first sense. It's really tied to our spirit sense, that sense of knowing. But we also have to test it to see whether or not our sense of knowing is correct or not. So that is the perception. And all of our perceptions are not always correct. And I always remember this little girl, she was about 2 years old, or maybe a little under 2, and she was eating ice cream for the first time. And there was smoke coming off of the ice cream. And so she, of course, and I know some of you are already saying it, she began to blow on it because her thought was that it was hot. She saw the smoke and she perceived that it was going to be hot. Well, then obviously when she tasted it, she found out it was cold. So her perception was incorrect. She went on what she knew, the history she knew. And so many times people perceive people, places, things as one thing based on what their history has either told them, meaning that someone else told them, or they actually experienced it. But when they come into this new experience, of course, they bring their old information with them, but it doesn't mean that their perceptions are 100% correct. So we always need to check our perceptions. The next P that I talked about is projection, and that is like a movie. So when we have a movie, you have a blank screen and there's a script that's playing or an image that's playing, and then it's projected on to that screen. Well, people do projections all the time. We see people and we project our thoughts about them onto them, whether our thoughts are correct or not. And many times it is our perceptions that we then project onto. And in order for us to have clarity, we need to check our data. We need to be honest. We need to come more open minded and more open spirited and see whether or not our projections are actually correct. And in society, it happens all the time. Many times we see it with certain groups of people. Historically and even currently, there have been so many projections against Black males, whether they be African Americans or from the Caribbean or from the continent of Africa. So there are projections that happen all the time, and those projections many times are not correct. And then the third one is perspective. And when it comes to a perspective, that's really our opinion. And so many times we throw around thoughts and opinions or perspectives as if they're facts. And so we have to be careful with our perspective and make sure that when we are sharing our perspective, we either clarify it as being just a thought or an idea, and we actually would like to have a discussion about it. We'd like to do some research about it. And so we have to be mindful of those three P's: perception, projection, and perspective. And we have to also be very mindful of which P word we use, because a lot of times people like to interchange them and they all have different meanings, and the way in which they are activated is different. And so it takes a slowing down process. It takes research. I mean, I am known to pull out a dictionary and look up these words. I am also known to correct myself in the middle of a sentence because I want to make sure that I am understood. And that really leads to a whole nother conversation and video that I'll do on healthy and effective communication. So I'm excited to be doing these mini segments here. As I said, in a few moments, I'm going to come back and I'm actually going to bring a friend of mine on. I call her my sister friend. And so you'll meet her very shortly. But until then, be sure to really think about those three P's: perspective, projection, and perception. Until we meet again, talk to you soon.